Welcome to the Nova Wealth Show. I am your host, Amy Novakovich.
And I'm Jim Novakovich. We're a husband and wife team and co-founders of Nova Wealth Management.
We also teach you how to build wealth, advise you how to keep it, and how not to get taken advantage of. So let's get started. Hey everyone, Amy and Jim Novakovich here. Thank you so much for joining the Nova Wealth Show. We're constantly trying to come up with new and creative ideas to help you build wealth and most importantly help you keep it.
And today we're going to talk about debt and getting out of debt. Because the best way to start saving money is to get out of debt first. Because
Right.
if you can't save money, you're never going to be able to retire. And if you can't retire, you're never going to have any fun. So the first thing to do is get out of debt first.
That's what retirement is all about.
Having fun. So today we're going to talk about getting out of debt.
Might be a good one too. Good. Yeah, because if getting out of debt, you can't even start to think about building wealth if you're digging a hole constantly and being reactive and dreading about your bills in the mail and the phone calls that you get. That's awful.
Right. That's everyone's excuse too. It's
Right.
an easy excuse. Well, I have all this debt. I can't save. I can't save. I have debt.
Right.
Well, if you have debt, you got to get rid of the debt. And so today we're going to talk about how to get out of debt so that we can start saving.
But debt, like what do you define as in debt?
Well, we have a slide, so we're going to put up a slide. You can follow along with us as we go through this. So what we consider debt, things like cars, car 1 and car 2. So we have balances there of $7,800 and $11,000 in car payments. Typical family, would you say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Usually,
has two cars.
Yeah, 2 cars, and a lot of times 2 car payments. Most families have mortgage.
Sometimes the balances don't matter though because sometimes they lease, but we'll just assume here that it's 2 owned vehicles.
Oh, good point.
You know, sometimes they lease and they're just always going to have a payment.
Right.
So then there goes a discussion there is that considered debt?
I would say no. I think I'd say no.
I think I'd say yes.
Really?
Only because...
It's not debt. It's an obligation, but it's not debt.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of why I would really back up that claim of considering it debt, but probably just because you are working towards the end of payments though, like your lease ends, and then you have a decision. So even though it's technically not debt, you do have a time when it ends. You know?
Yeah, but you don't own anything when it's up.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, I guess it's more like renting versus owning. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you won that one. I concede.
Okay. And then most families have a credit card. Student loans are very common now, and medical bills. So what we want to talk about when we get out of debt...
Did you say mortgage? Or did you skip mortgage? I think you skipped mortgage.
I thought I said mortgage, but
well,
maybe mortgage. So most people have a home.
Yeah.
And so that's a kind of a typical family. Very generic, but that's a typical family. Now, what we want to do is we want to categorize these in order of importance. And when we talk about categorizing, we look at interest rates. It doesn't really matter what the balance is. It really determines what determines the priority of payoff is the interest rates. You want to explain that?
You mean like why?
Yeah, why does the balance not matter and the interest rate does?
Well, because if every time you make a monthly payment and you're trying to get ahead, every penny that goes towards interest is not going towards your balance. So if you're paying a larger interest rate and most of your payment is going towards interest, you're not making a headway on your debt. So the interest is a huge factor because it controls your payment and it controls how fast you're paying down your debt.
Good.
So when we're trying to think of how to get out of debt, which is what we're talking about here, we want you to get out of debt. We want you to feel like you're getting some. We don't want you to always be thinking about being in debt and how do I get out of that hole. We want you to get ahead. How do I save? How do I move forward?
Right. Good. So when we prioritize these, in this example, the credit card is charging 17% in interest.
Which is normal, by the way. I know that sounds insane.
Yeah, maybe even higher.
Probably.
Yeah, and I've seen 19, 23%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But let's just say your credit card
So check your rates on your credit cards.
Yeah, definitely.
Even the 0% ones. When the 0% ends, it goes to a very high interest rate.
Very
Which
true.
we'll touch on that in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah.
About the end of the promotional period.
Yeah, so the credit card is 17%, so that's priority 1. We want to get that thing paid off as quickly as possible. And then you see as priority 2 is card number 2.
Well, let me put that in perspective just for a second.
Okay.
Every $100, let's put this to numbers, because some people, you say percentages and they're just like, oh yeah, that sounds not great. For every $100 that you are putting towards your credit card payment, 17 of it is not yours.
So priority 2 is the car 2 because it has a 5.8 interest rate. That's the second highest interest rate. Priority 3 is car number 1 because it has a 4% interest rate, and so on. You get the idea. You see what we're doing here.
Well, and when we're planning, we're thinking about taxes too, and none of that is tax deductible. Like your interest on your student loans and your interest on your mortgage and interest on different things are tax deductible, right? So you want to try to prioritize. If you don't know those things, then you consult a planner or you Google.
Good.
That always works.
Yeah, you Google everything.
I do.
Yeah, it's
I'm
a great
huge
tool.
fan.
For sure.
Huge fan.
So this example, right below the chart there, you see the take-home income per month. We're going to assume that this family brings home $4,400 a month. Now, the way you get out of debt quickly, net. So the family's
very glad I clarified that.
Yes, good call. So family's bringing home $4,400 a month net after withholding and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 10% of whatever your take-home monthly income is, and in this example, it's $440. 10% of $4,400. All right. Now, on the chart here, you see that we have the minimum payments. The car 1, the minimum payment is $390. The car 2 is $550, and so on.
When you say minimum payment, you mean like
payment, I guess.
Well, the payment. Right?
Yeah,
because anything over that would go towards principal.
Right.
But on a credit card, you have a minimum payment that you have to make, and it fluctuates depending on your balance. So that's probably why your minimum payment on a credit card is different than a car.
Yeah, I'd say the minimum payment is the only thing on this debt is the credit card.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so and we're talking about the credit card. So the minimum payment on the credit card is $175 a month. We're going to apply the $440, the 10% of the take-home money. We're going to apply that to priority 1 each month. So instead of paying the $175 each month to the credit card, we're going to pay $615.
Now I know what you're thinking. I already know what you're thinking. $440 a month. You want me to just take from my income that I already every month have no money? I have no money to save, guys. Where am I going to get $400 to put on my credit card? Okay, I highly suggest that you go through your credit card statements, bank statements, whatever you spend money on, and just really, check your ego at the door and really come to terms with what you need. What do you need? Do you need that $5 cup of coffee? Do you need that, I don't know.
Subway lunch for $10?
Who goes to Subway, Jim?
Every day.
Every day?
Almost every day.
I've tried on that.
Yeah, recently you tried to show me
again how much money he spends on a monthly basis at Subway.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I don't need it. I said it makes me happy.
That's true. He did.
I said I don't even want to know. Makes me happy.
But that is not what they need to hear. That is not what you need to hear. If you are trying to
I don't have any debt, though. That's a difference.
That's true. That is true. Touche. But you need to find what you're spending frivolous money on. And I say frivolous because you don't realize what you're spending, okay? So I also hear, do you hear this all the time? I know who we hear it from. It's your dad. I just realized that I hear it from your dad. Well, we don't have enough money. We don't go grocery shopping. It's so cheap to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, but it's not.
No.
Yeah, it's way more expensive.
Think about what like a loaf of bread, peanut butter, and jelly costs. What do you think? $4 on a loaf of bread if it's expensive bread. I don't know. $2 on a bottle of jelly, $3 on a bottle of peanut butter.
Yeah, there's lunches all week right there.
Well, if you've got 3 teenage boys.
It goes fast. But the bottom line is
how many
you're
meals
saying
is
know
that?
the difference between your needs and your wants.
Right, but also like every time you go get fast food, don't think it's so cheap compared to what groceries would buy you. Okay, moral of the story is you can find this money every month to pay down debt because your later self in a year will thank you. I promise you'll look back and thank you when you're not making all these payments to your debt and you have more money to spend and save.
Yeah, because you're going to be surprised as we get through these next couple slides. You're going to be shocked to see how quickly
and how much
this
it adds
debt
up.
it disappears.
Yes. Very exciting.
So after about 6 months, your credit card's going to be paid off. You're going to pay $6.15 a month on that credit card till it's gone. And now 6 months later, we have no more credit card debt. We just eliminated a 17% debt, which is huge. Okay?
Very huge.
So we'll go to the next slide now. Now, what do most families do? And this is big on cars. So let's say I have a car payment. Let's say my car payment's $500 a month, and I pay off my car.
Yeah.
What do most families do?
After they pay off their car?
Yeah. Now they
Go
have
and get a new flipping car.
they get a new car, or they say, well, I got an extra $500 a month now. Now what can I buy?
I'll spend it. Yeah. What can I buy?
Yeah. So let's look at slide number 2.
Yeah.
And now, okay, so our credit card is gone. So now we go to priority 2. Now we freed up $615 a month from priority 1.
From paying off the credit card, you're saying?
Yes.
It was $6.15 a month? That was the payment?
That's what we paid on the credit
card.
card.
That's what we were paying. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Our,
Yes.
Yep, our minimum was $175. We added the $440 or
Yes,
the
yes.
10%.
I'm with you. Okay.
So we were paying $615 a month. Now instead of going out and buying something else with that money, we're going to apply that $615 as an additional
whole
payment,
thing.
the whole thing, on top of the minimum payment on the car, or the actual payment on the car. So we were paying $550 a month for car number 2, which is priority 2. We're going to add the $615 a month to priority 2, and we're going to pay $1165 a month.
Okay, but can I make a point here?
Sure.
Just as Jim said, you said it a minute ago. If you are going to pay off the car just to go get a new one, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you're not going to get full value for the car anyway. And actually, sometimes when you've got debt on a loan, it's leverage to negotiate a car price. I would know that because I love negotiating car prices. I do love it.
She makes grown men cry. No joke. Well, I've never seen them cry.
Not actually.
I've
cry.
seen them pout really
I've seen
good.
them leave early in the middle of
Yeah,
closing
without saying goodbye.
So upset. But anyway, so if you have, you're making me lose my train of thought here with that comment because I remembered that specific situation. I got back in the moment. Yeah. So if you're going to just go out and pay off and pay off your car and then go out and get a new car, that's probably not a good decision. If you're going to keep the car for a long time, if it's a car that you want to keep in the family, then I say pay it off. Yes? But if your plan is to go get a new car in the next year anyway, don't do it.
Right.
Actually,
we're
I would
talking about
invest the
getting
money.
out of debt. So let's not. Yeah, you're not. In this example, we're not going to get a new car. We're going to pay off this debt.
Right. But I mean, you could take that $6.15 a month and either invest it or put it towards other debt. But 5.8 is actually, it's kind of a high interest rate, but technically, if you invest it though, and
Yeah,
you
but
make
let's not
more
muddy
than
the waters.
5.8.
Yeah. But let's not muddy the waters. I should have. In this example, I should have upped these interest rates because they are pretty low.
Yeah, that's low.
But let's just go with it. So
Sorry, I'm getting off topic. Let's bring it back. We're talking about how to get out of debt, right? So that's what we're focusing on. Maybe in a second scenario, we can talk about what should you do? Should you pay down debt or should you invest and save the money? But right now, how do we get out of debt quickly?
yes, so
Right.
getting out of debt. So we're going to pay $1165 a month on priority 2, and in 7 months, car number 2 will be paid off completely.
7 months. So far we took 6 months on the credit card and 7 months on the car.
Right. So we're only
You're
13
getting
months
this,
into
right?
this.
So a year.
Yeah, we're just over a year into this, and
You
we
know how
got
fast
a
a
car
year goes by?
and a credit card paid off.
A year. It's already almost Christmas.
We'll go to, and then after that, you go to priority 1, and now we were paying $1165 for priority 2 on the car. Car number 2, we were paying $1165. Now we apply that as an additional payment to priority 1, and in 2 months we'll have car 1 paid off. Two additional months,
Right.
because we're paying $1455. So you get the idea here. We just instead of
It's a snowball.
feeling like you have found money and we can go have more fun and build up more debt when you free up money, we just keep applying it to the next priority. And finally, if we go to that last slide, and this is the last slide because we don't need to take it all the way to the end, but then you apply it to the mortgage.
Well, and the mortgage is good. I call it good debt, because the mortgage.
You may not be able to write off that interest for much longer. I don't know what's going to happen with the tax code.
Yeah, that's true.
But you were going to say good debt.
Well, I was going to say good debt only because out of everything we've talked about, the mortgage is an asset. Your home is an asset that appreciates, right? So a car is technically an asset, but it's not appreciating. Your home is real estate and could be appreciating. So the reason why I call it good debt is because it's an asset, not just a depreciating asset or a liability that you're paying down. It's actually an asset.
Right.
So your home could actually be appreciating at a quicker rate than what you're paying on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
So.
But that's how you get out of debt. You did that in less than a year and a half. You got rid of the debt. And then the student loan.
Well, no, we got rid of the 2 cars and the credit card in 13 months?
Oh, and then there's still medical bills.
And then, well, yeah.
Which a lot of times medical bills won't charge you anything.
Right, I put 0 interest on the medical bills.
Yeah.
So that's the last priority.
Okay, good.
Because there's no reason to even pay that off.
They're just happy you're paying your medical bills. I know this personally. We had a ton of debt. Was it after we had our 4th child, our son? He went into the hospital with RSV. And we got a huge bill in the mail, or was it? Yeah, that's what it was. And I called and I was like, why wasn't this covered? And they're like, oh, well, the doctor is covered, but the facility is not covered. And then you have the labs, and then you have, you get like 14 bills from 4 different places, and some of them weren't covered. I simply called them and said, look, can you automatically deduct like $100 a month? We're still paying it, but it's 0 interest. Yeah.
But it's 0 interest?
0 interest. They don't care. It's automatically deducting. So what do they care? They're getting their money.
That balance has to be low.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was done.
It's a lot lower. We're almost done. I think $100 was going to pay it off in like 22 months. It was like $2,200.
Yeah.
So, and he's 16 months old.
Yeah, because, we could have just paid it off, but the point is, Amy's point is, if it's at 0 interest, if they're not charging you to carry that debt, don't pay it off.
Then why?
Don't be in a rush to pay it off.
Well, because some people I've known will go out and get debt, or they'll put it on a credit card because they think they need to pay that off right away. Check your interest rates. That's a great tip when we're kind of getting into the tips at the end, but I'm just going to go into it right now. One of the tips is check your interest rates.
That's step 1.
Step 1.
Check the interest rates.
Right.
That's why we prioritize the debt. So on this 4th slide, you see the house is actually paid off in 6 years because we applied all the money we were paying to priorities 1, 2, and 3, and we made an additional $1,400 payment. Now you say, well, how am I paying an extra $1,400 payment? You're still paying the exact money you were paying out when you started this thing.
Right.
It was like $2,980 a month.
With the credit card payment and the car payments and the mortgage payment, he's just saying nothing changed.
Yeah, same money that you were paying.
Just taking all that money as one lump big snowball and applying it to the debt. Which, by the way, on the mortgage, I have to say I disagree a little bit as well, because I feel like because real estate is an asset, when you're paying off your mortgage, you're putting it in. If you plan on living there, you're not going to move. Your plan is not to sell. You're going to stay. You're putting that money into an illiquid asset. You can't get the cash back out unless you have awesome credit and you can go get an equity line like that. But I'm just saying, wouldn't you rather them put it into like an investment account or a savings account where it's completely liquid, unless you spend money like crazy?
Yeah, if it's a low interest rate like this, yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
Like, this is...
You can make that case, but this is an example of getting out of debt.
Again, yes. Okay,
so
right.
We could debate whether it's good or not to pay off a house. But
yes. To get out of debt, you take your interest rates, you put 10% of the net income every month into the highest interest rate liability. Then once that's paid off, you keep the payment. You take that payment, the whole thing, the 10% plus the payment that you were already paying, and apply the whole thing to your next priority, the second highest interest rate. And it will snowball and you pay that off. And then once you get to the assets, like we were saying, the real estate or land or whatever it may be, the assets, that's something that you might need to weigh out with your investment advisor as to if it's worth it for you to put all that money into an asset that's not liquid. Liquid meaning convertible to cash.
Right.
Convertible to cash? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can easily be converted to cash.
So in this example, in just over 7 years, you paid off your credit card debt, 2 car payments, and a mortgage.
Now that's
in
assuming you
just
never
over
get any
7
more
years.
cars.
No. Yeah, if you get a good, well-made car, it'll last 7 years.
Oh, sure.
So.
My
and
van would have lasted 7 years. I'm so sad that I didn't keep my van.
Why don't you tell everybody how they can get a hold of us?
And so we'll probably post a summary. I already have a YouTube video up on our YouTube channel. Nova Wealth Management is the YouTube channel. Check us out on our website, novawealthmanagement.com. We have a whole bunch of resources there. Also follow us on Twitter at Nova Wealth Management. Management is abbreviated MGMT. And then also Facebook. We have a Nova Wealth Management Facebook page. Like us on Facebook. We're posting daily tips there. So those are super interesting too. But do we have any other tips? So we said check the interest rate. And this is what I'm going to summarize and I'll post on Facebook and Twitter. So check your interest rate.
Prioritize them.
Prioritize.
Highest to lowest.
Take 10% of your net income and apply that towards the highest interest rate. All right? And then on top of that, your assets. Try to weigh out if you'd be better off. And again, you can use a professional for this. Putting it towards, would you say investments or savings? I guess it depends on their risk.
Yeah, I would say that's a whole nother topic, isn't it? I mean,
that's true.
Savings. I would put it to savings. You want to have 3 to
Emergency
6 months
funds.
of, so you don't go back into debt. You want to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses
Yeah,
in
that's how
cash.
you stay out of debt. You gotta keep an emergency fund, which we did do another podcast on. You gotta keep an emergency fund. So that's how you stay out of debt, is you are being proactive instead of just reacting all the time.
But the first step is get out of debt. If you
Right.
get out of debt, then you can start saving. You start saving, then maybe one day you could retire and ultimately have fun.
That's right.
So thanks for joining us.